September 27th, 2019, there was an announcement. The Daedra from Oblivion were on their way to invade the Elder Scrolls Legends. The Jaws of Oblivion expansion was coming. New cards and mechanics were going to arrive to personify this threat. The Daedra and their Oblivion Gates were coming to take over the game. Many players were excited to see what Sparky Pants Studios was planning for this expansion. On October 8th, 2019, they were rewarded with the Jaws of Oblivion expansion release. Many players, new and old, talented and casual, wanted to try out all the exciting new cards. The invasion had begun, and skilled deck builders began to piece together the Daedra's plan. Let's cast ourselves into time for a moment to discover how these legendary players designed such powerful and unique decks. I see now, a legend player is born. Now the journey of these players was difficult and full of challenges. Never before had so many obstacles presented themselves to a deck type. Cards were nerfed, mechanics of the Oblivion Gate were changed, and strategies had to evolve. Yet still, our future legend player persevered, overcoming all that lay before him with mental fortitude, dedication, and pure skill. He would come to ascend the ladder on his way from rank 12 to legend rank. Rags to riches, as they say. Let us follow in the journey of these players. He faced off against all manner of foes, overcoming one after another with exceptional play. As the control decks fell, the aggro decks rose to stop him. Yet still he endured, weathering their ceaseless assaults with unassailable skill and decision-making. In the end, none of them could stop him on his conquest. Yet not all were so lucky. Formidable players sought to put a stop to the onslaught of the Invade deck users. As there were legends who arose, there were others who fell to make way for them. Not all could be a legend. All manner of counter cards were teched into decks to remove the gates. Arrow Storms, Executions, Grizzly Gourmets, all manner of cheap removal cards were filled into decks in an effort to combat the invasion. This stopped some, but our legend kept rising, as he knew his wisdom and skill could overcome this. Even though he rose, we cannot forget those who fell. The genius Invade players had to collectively devise a strategy to drive these counter decks off the ladder to clear the way for their champions to ascend. So a new strategy was born. Whenever an Invade player started losing, they would invoke this new strategy which their opponents had no answer for. They would disconnect from the game. The mental strain and annoyance they inflicted upon their foes would drive them to anger and stall them, giving their allies time to ascend to legend rank. Those who lacked mental fortitude could not handle it and would leave the game. These noble souls fought, buying time for their allies to further the invasion. Whenever one Oblivion Gate fell, a stronger, new one would rise in its place. In the end, their opponents could do nothing to halt the rise of the greatest of these players. The Oblivion Gates would continue opening, and the Daedra would continue carrying their users to victory. But soon their opponents learned of this disconnect strategy, and came to be able to predict it.
Now we just gotta wait for the disconnect.
They could sense when it was coming and predict it, and they expected it, but that did not lessen its power even though they knew it was coming.
I called it.
Now 18 months later, many skilled Invade players still advance the meta and forward the skills of their deck building, baffling their opponents and confusing them with incredibly high IQ moves and card choices the opponent simply cannot understand. Some of these choices are so surprising, the opponents had disenchanted them, thinking they were bad cards, unable to comprehend their power and usefulness potential. Still though, the Invade players hold on to their old strategy and skill, disconnecting to hold up their opponent and preventing them from stopping another Invade player. After all, a counter deck user can only play one person at a time. This perseverance and collective strategy, along with their legendary wisdom and skill, demonstrates their absolute dedication to precision and power. At long last, it is time to ask one of these players the secret to their knowledge and skill. Will he at long last reveal the secrets of the Invade players and what makes them so strong? Please impart to us your deck building knowledge and wisdom. What are these great secrets of the Invade players that makes them so good? I cannot understand such advanced and perceptive language. I guess we'll never know.